Yo, what is going on YouTube? So in today's video, I'm breaking down how to make these insanely beautiful gospel samples from scratch inside FL Studio. Let's get straight into it. Alright, so we're in FL Studio, and as always, I will play the sample first so you can hear what we are working with. Yeah, such a beautiful sample. This video is going to be full of gems, so be sure to stick around to the end of the video to learn as much as possible. But yeah, let's get into the sample breakdown. Alright, so when I'm doing these gospel soul kind of samples, first off, what I want to do is I want to load up a piano and I want to start with some basic chords. So I went to the Contact and I loaded up the Grandeur and I used the Ultra Bright Grand preset. This is my favorite piano by far for the soul gospel type of loops. And I love to use this Ultra Bright Grand preset. It's like a powerful, emotional, just overall good piano for these kinds of loops. And yeah, I laid down this pattern right here. Yeah, and as you can hear, the piano instantly sets off the vibe for the loop, and that's because of the chords. So let me break down the chords. So first off, we have a basic G sharp minor over here. Then I just took out the middle note, inverted it up an octave, and after I had that done, I followed it up with a F sharp minor, but I took out the middle A sharp and I moved it down an octave, so basically it is a kind of like A sharp minor, but not exactly. After I had this F sharp minor down, I laid down a G sharp minor, exactly the same chord as over here, but I just moved up this root note from G sharp to B, so it gives it a different feeling and it feels like the overall progression is going like upwards. After I had those down, I just copied them over like this. Then I copied these root notes and I moved them down an octave like this. Alright, next off, let's go over these crazy chord trills. So what I did is I laid down a G sharp minor 7th, and what I did is basically this. Here we have a G sharp minor 7th, then I hit Alt plus S, and I turned this strength knob to 16, which you can see over on the left upper corner. Then I hit accept and we have this shape right here. Then I just copied this over, moved it up an octave, and boom, we have these. Over here, same thing, but I took the G sharp minor 7th and I turned the strength like backwards to 16, like so, and that makes this shape that goes downwards. And yeah, one thing that is also important on this piano is the velocity. So normally when I would use this piano, I would like to leave the velocities rather low, but because I'm making a gospel sample, I wanted the piano to be powerful, so I left the velocities almost to the maximum volume, and that creates a strong, rich piano. On these chord trills, I did a ascending velocity that you can see over here. And yeah, for effects on the piano, we have a Valhalla Vintage Verb. This is my go-to reverb. It's free, but it's only the demo version, but yeah, I still love to use it. I turned the mix to around 70.2 and I turned the low cut all the way up. The low cut just prevents the reverb from affecting the frequencies below 1500 Hz. Then I added a basic delay, didn't even mess around with any of these knobs. I just turned the mix level to 7%. Then I finished off the piano with a basic EQ. I got down some of the low end because I didn't want any muddiness on the piano. Then I boosted some of the highs just to bring up some of those higher frequencies on the piano. Alright, let's move on. Alright, so once I had the piano down, I added this bass line. As y'all know on the channel already, I love to use the Scarpy Rickenbacker bass. This is my favorite and go-to bass by far. It's such a realistic sounding acoustic bass, and I used the Nitrogen preset, and this is the bass line that I made. And yeah, as you can hear, I added a tiny bit of distortion. I used the Fruity Fast Dist and I turned the mix level to 10%. Basslines are extremely important on these kinds of loops because the bassline is what creates the groove and the rhythm to the melody. I still kept this rather simple because I didn't want to overcomplicate it too much. Basically, how I got this MIDI together is I followed the root notes of the chords that I showed on the piano earlier, and I added these tiny passing notes that you can see over here and over here. That is just to bring some life into the melody. This is what the piano and the bass sound like together. Alright, so once I had those instruments down, I added a couple more. So I added strings and a brass, and this is what the brass and the strings sound like. For the brass, I used the SRX Roland VST, which is one of my favorite brass VSTs, and for the strings, I used the Session Strings 2. This is just a beautiful, realistic strings contact bank. I love to use it on my soul samples. For effects on the strings, I added a Valhalla Vintage Verb and a EQ, and for the brass, I added the same thing, Valhalla Vintage Verb and a EQ. Alright, let's move on. Alright, so once I had those instruments down, I still wanted to add some more, so I went into Contact and I opened up the Vintage Organs bank, and I laid down this melody that you can see right here. Alright, so this might seem a bit weird, but I promise you it's a very basic MIDI. So you might be wondering, what is this thing right here? And this is just like a organ trill that opens up the organ. It just sounds good to me, so I love to use it. And yeah, how I do this is I just follow the scale that I am in, and I fill out every single space until I reach the chord like this. And for this melody, I transpose these little organ trills down an octave. These are just basic chords that I copied straight from the initial piano melody. Alright, let's listen to everything so far. Alright, let's get into the best part of the melody, the vocals. So let me play you the melody with the vocals first, and then I will break them down. Yeah, the vocals are easily the best part about the melody. They are what create the whole gospel sound, at least for me, in this melody. But yeah, let me break this down. So we have 3 separate vocals. I found these from Splice, but you can definitely find good vocal samples from like YouTube, Looperman and stuff like that. But yeah, these were just like perfect for this loop. This one is just kind of like talking little melodies in between. It sounds like this. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praises shall continually be. Over here is the original sample, and it sounds like this. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praises shall continually be in my mouth. Yeah, my soul will make a boast in the Lord. The humble will hear and they'll be glad. Yeah. And yeah, there was just a bit too much going on, so I chopped it up, and this is what I ended up with. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praises shall continually be in my mouth. Yeah, my soul will make a boast in the Lord. Yeah, sounds a lot more cleaner and a lot better. Then I found this vocal, which sounds like this. Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me, Lord. Yeah, and that one is my favorite on the whole sample. Such a beautiful vocal. But yeah, see how I kind of did like call and response on this one. So over here is the start of the first vocal, and nothing else is playing, as you can see on the vocals. And then after that one is done, this one comes in, and after this one has gone on for some time, this one comes back on again. That theme repeats itself throughout the whole vocals. This last vocal is kind of on the background, not too audible. This is what it sounds like. I added that vocal just to fill up some of the empty spaces that were on the sample. Alright, once I had the vocals down, I still felt like I could add some stuff to the melody, so I added another brass. This is what it sounds like. This is also from the SRX brass VST. I love to use it. This is the bland brass preset, and for effects on it I added some Valhalla Vintage Verb, some thermal just to distort the sound a tiny bit. Then I added a effect track. I used the classic tape slap just to bring some tiny like delay, kind of a weird effect. This is what it sounds like without it. And this is what it sounds like with it on. Yeah, to be honest, I don't even hear that much of a difference, but yeah, I added it. Then, to finish off the effects, I added a very basic EQ, just a tiny low-cut. Once I had the brass down, I added these top keys, which sound like this. And yeah, this is from the Grand Door as well. I used the same piano. How I did this melody is, first off, I heard this melody on my head, so I took out some time and I just followed the scale and I did this run down the scale. And yeah, I don't know how to explain this, but I'll try my best. So the occurring theme on this melody is that it always returns back to where it was. As you can see over here, we have a F sharp that returns to an F sharp over here. Then we have a D sharp that returns to a D sharp over here. And that just happens like throughout the melody. As you can see, D sharp, D sharp, D sharp. Then we have a C sharp 3 times and a B 2 times. It's kind of like returns back to where it started, and that's what creates the downwards going good sounding melody. I don't know how to explain it any better, but yeah, that was just kind of like my thought process when I made this melody. And for effects on this piano, I added a Valhalla vintage verb and some delay. Alright, so once I had all of those down, it was just a matter of adding some finishing touches. So first off, I added these chimes from the Ultimate Pay Multi-Kit version 2. Yeah, I love to use little ear candy like this to spice up my melodies, and this kind of stuff is perfect for these gospel sound of melodies. Then I added this crash from the Ultimate Pay Multi-Kit version 2. To finish off the sample, I added this live drum loop that was made by Kavi. The live drums are important because they make the melody feel like it's been sampled, you know, it got the live drums, the basses. It just helps create like a feeling that it was sampled off of an old like 80s or 70s record. But yeah, one last thing that I did to the sample is I bounced it out as an audio clip and I pitched it up 3 semitones, so it is in B minor, and pitching up your like final gospel soul samples helps even further to help create the feeling like, yeah, this is a sample. You can hear this stuff all the time, for example on Kanye West's like records that he has pitched up the sample and it sounds amazing, and that's what you want to do for your own melodies as well. But yeah, that's about it for the melody breakdown. This was so fun to make because I love this melody and I love to make these gospel soul kind of samples, so let me know if you want to see more videos about this stuff. But yeah, the Ultimate Pay Multi-Kit bundle is available right now on nitrodias.com. It has so many professional guitar phrases, drum kit, one shots, loops, everything is royalty free that you can use on your own sample. It's such an amazing kit, I can't stress it enough. But yeah, I'm about to play you the final sample right now. If you like the video, like and subscribe. See you in the next video. Peace.